Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise, if you're able, for the presentation of our colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Color Guard.
Color Guard, forward march. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, prepare to post the colors. Troop, right hand salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Troop, post the colors. Color Guard, return to post. About face, ready, and. Color Guard, forward march.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, you can be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask the Color Guard to escort the families of our Eagle Scout candidates and the Scouts themselves to the stage. Thank you, gentlemen. Our Color Guard this afternoon, headed by Frank Silvaggi, our senior patrol leader. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 179 Eagle Court of Honor. This is a fairly common occurrence in our troop, but for the families, for our Scouts and their family, really an extraordinary and singular day because we celebrate a singular achievement in scouting, that is the award of the Eagle Scout rank. And on our agenda, the first order of business is the introduction of the Eagle Scouts. And so to introduce Nathan Hooker, I would like to call on Greg Hooker. Mr. Hooker.
All right, so I get to introduce you Nathan Hooker. I don't know him really well, so it's very difficult for me to write a quick introduction to him. What I'm not going to do to you is read the program, so I'm hoping you all can read. You can go ahead and read all his fine scouting achievements. What I want to describe for you is Nathan for a little bit. So there are three types of scouts that we generally have in this troop. We have your Super Scout, and that's your scout that wears his uniform to school and does all the parades and does everything, and he's not all that shy about being in scouts. Then you have your middle of the road scout, the scout that wears his uniform when he has to, doesn't put up a fight, does what he has to, goes to, Scout Sunday and he'll wear his uniform. And then we have Nathan, the too cool to be a scout. So you have to beg Nathan, or beat him, one or the other, to get him to wear his uniform. He doesn't want anybody to know that he's a scout. Never. Would never go to a parade, would never, he plays hockey, and heaven forbid around the locker room anybody knew that he was a Boy Scout. That's the type of scout that Nathan is. Nathan is also one of those people that has to win all the time. There's no such thing as second place in Nathan's world. If it is, you're the loser if you're second. So even if you're eating ice cream from Dairy Queen, if he's not the first one done, he feels that as a failure. So know that whenever you run into Nathan, that he's competing with you to beat you at whatever it is you're doing, even if it's eating ice cream. Nathan always has to look good. How many showers he takes a day? Most teenagers probably 2. Nathan, if he could, would take 5. Always has to look good. How's my hair? You know, not a problem that I have, but he's always, and believe it or not, that is styled. Not sure what style it is, not one that I ever entertained, but Nathan's always combing his hair, making sure the 4 bottles of cologne that he has is lined up, and he's always looking neat and pristine. What Nathan also is he's always there. He's always looking to please. Nathan will do what you ask him to do. When he was a scout, when he is a scout, he always does what you ask him to do, and he does it to perfection. Nathan always wants to make sure that everything is done right 100%, and he wants to make sure that you're happy with what he does. Much to the testament on why he got to Eagle Scout is because he does try to do everything he does to the highest level. And while he was in Boy Scouts, he went to the highest level and earned his Eagle. That's Nathan Hooker.
Thank you, Greg. I neglected to mention Greg is one of our assistant scoutmasters here, and the last weekend taught me how to fold the fly on a Voyager tent. After sleeping in one for 20 years, I just now learned how to fold it. Next, to introduce Joshua Hooker, Assistant Scoutmaster Brian Effersey. Mr. Effersey.
Hello. Like Greg, I don't have to worry about my hairstyle that much either. Anyway, I'm very honored to be up here to introduce Josh as an Eagle Scout. I've known Josh for a handful of years now. I've worked with him directly several times in patrols, as well as currently as he serves as the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader for the traditional program. Josh has had many leadership positions within the troop, including being patrol leader several times in the traditional program, including once with the Axemen, which was our honor patrol. He's also been a new scout instructor and quartermaster, amongst other positions. Josh has also been a member of the Order of the Arrow for several years, and as I mentioned, he's currently the ASPL, which he just began this term. Let's get something out of the way. Josh likes to have a good time. He likes to hang out with his buddies and goof around, but he usually knows when to buckle down and get stuff done. Josh told me he really enjoyed being a quartermaster because he was able to do that at the same time as his good friends, Trevor, Frankie, Tali, and a long hangout with Fernando. And knowing those guys as well as I do, I can only imagine the hijinks that were going on, but I'm sure it included a lot of rolling around in the dirt. In fact, I've seen it fairly often. But back to getting work done as a leader, I have seen Josh grow as a leader and do a really good job getting everyone to row in the same direction when necessary. As Josh has grown into a leadership role, I think back to when he was a new traditional. Early on, when he got into the program, him and I would occasionally butt heads due to his, quote, lack of focus. And in several instances, I probably had to give him a boot in the backside so his focus could have more focus. However, in those cases, he always stepped up to the task and got the job done. But once he matured a bit, things seemed to click in, and I thought he really did a good job being a patrol leader of both the Rams and the Axemen, and I was the adult leader for both of those patrols. And I do think he's done a really good job this term as the ASPL for the traditionals. Although I will admit it's funny to see him having to deal with some scouts that have those earlier traits that I mentioned. I'll give you a quick funny story about Josh. Those of you who know him well, which is probably everybody here, would probably agree he likes to use pretty colorful language. Anyway, during the summer camp of the COVID year, which was when we had summer camp later in the summer, he was patrol leader of the Rams. And I was giving the Rams, the members of the patrol, a hard time because they'd been using the similar cheer that Rams patrols for many years had used. So I was putting pressure on them to come up with something better. And Josh came up with a new cheer, but let's just say it wasn't fully scout-like, and I can't fully repeat it, but I'll say part of it. It went something like this: "We are the Rams, buck," and then I won't say the last word because it would be really bad, especially in a church. Regardless, it was pretty funny, and everybody in the patrol thought it was really clever, and they were literally begging me to be able to use it. So it was clear it wasn't Scout-like, but nonetheless, I did tell them I would go talk to Chuck to see if we could do it. And of course, he shot it down, rightfully so. But nonetheless, it was very funny and creative. Back to the serious stuff. So Josh is going to be attending the National Jamboree this coming summer. Last summer, he went on a high adventure trip to Philmont with members of our troop, including his dad and brother. He had a great experience. He said they had hiked about 75 miles over 10 days in the backcountry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. Josh did his Eagle project. I don't know how many people know this, at this place called Hoof and Heart in Albion, which is a horse rescue. So they take in horses that have been neglected or given up for whatever reason. And they really needed a lot of work on their pastures. So Josh, working with them, came up with a project to basically replace all the pasture fencing. It's a pretty cool project. And actually out on the table back there on the iPad, there's some pretty cool pictures. Again, congratulations, Josh, on being a new Eagle Scout.
Thank you, Brian. I was interested to hear Brian's comment about Josh's Eagle project, and allow me to share with you a little anecdote about my experience with it. We went out there on a day not entirely unlike this or the weather we'd had in the last couple of weeks. It had rained a lot, and the area that we were working was muddy, about 6 inches worth of mud in most places, and occasionally you could find a kind of a dry spot to stand on. And there were horses walking back and forth. And at one point, while I was taking a break and leaning on my shovel, a horse came along and stood at my left shoulder, and I turned and looked at him. I didn't pay any more attention to him. And he nudged me, and I looked and I didn't pay any attention to him. And he nudged me again, and I looked and I didn't pay any attention to him. And then he bit me on the arm. Apparently he expected something more than just being ignored when he was nudging me. So thank you, Josh. I appreciated the opportunity to get bitten by a horse. Thank you. So with the introduction of our Eagle Scouts, it's now time to introduce Assistant Scoutmaster Brian Ulmer for the Eagle Scout investiture. Mr. Ulmer.
To become an Eagle Scout, you have been tested in every area of scouting. Through the ranks of Scout, Tenderfoot, Second Class, and First Class, you were required to learn scouting skills. You tied knots, found your way with a compass, learned to cook, learned to camp, learned to care for yourself and others. Upon gaining the First Class rank, you were ready to enter the next phase of scouting, learning leadership. You earned the Star in Life ranks by earning merit badges, successfully completing leadership positions in the troop, and giving service to your community. After earning the Life rank, you had been fully trained for the challenge that scouting presented to you, the Eagle Scout requirements. Requirement 1 challenged you to remain active in scouting. Requirement 2 challenged you to continue to live by the principles of the Scout Oath and law. To prove that you had done this, you were required to obtain letters from individuals who knew you personally and would be willing to attest to your conduct as a scout. Requirement 3 challenged you to earn 21 merit badges, 11 of them required and 10 electives. For each of these merit badges, you were required to select and meet with a counselor approved by the Boy Scouts of America and satisfy them that you were knowledgeable in the requirements. Requirement 4 challenged you to prove your abilities as a leader. You had to secure positions in the troop and be responsible to complete the requirements of the position. You were pushed to be the best leader and meet a standard set by those who had held it before you. Requirement 5 challenged you to plan, develop, and give leadership to others in a service project that gave benefit to the community. The project was required to be approved by your Scoutmaster, the Troop Committee, and the Michigan Crossroads Council. Requirement 6 challenged you to reflect on your future life and write a statement that listed your ambitions and life purpose. You presented the plan to your Scoutmaster, who reviewed it with you and determined if you were fully ready to become an Eagle Scout. Upon completion of these requirements, you came to the final step of your scouting trail, the Board of Review. Your troop committee conducted this board with a representative from the Michigan Crossroads Council in attendance. They reviewed all of the requirements to ensure that you have met every challenge from Scout to Eagle Scout. At the end of this board of review, our troop committee and the Michigan Crossroads Council forwarded your application to the National Council of the Boy Scouts of America, requesting a review of your application for approval of you as an Eagle Scout. The President of the United States and the Chief Scout of the Boy Scouts of America signed the application of Joshua Hooker and Nathan Hooker, officially making them Eagle Scouts.
Thank you, Brian. I neglected to mention that Brian is an Eagle Scout, and in addition to that, serves as Assistant Scoutmaster in charge of the food operation for us adults. And in that capacity, speaking of singular achievements, developed a hot breakfast that gets served to us on Sundays at Camp House. Now, this may not seem like a big thing to you, but when it's cold and wet and you're hungry, this traditional egg-a-muffin that Brian developed and served is really welcome. In addition, it serves another very important purpose. There's one of the equipment managers who, as the weekend goes by, gets more and more antsy and then finally starts to complain and bride us, and is frankly a nag to get the equipment picked up and put away. Well, one Sunday, Brian took one of his egg-a-muffins, and as Brian Budgery opened his mouth and began to nag somebody else, he jammed it right into his mouth. Brian chewed and chewed and chewed, and then suddenly a smile crossed his face, but then a cloud passed over, and he began to nag again, and Brian jammed a second egg-a-muffin into his mouth, and that did it for him. Brian Budgery was happy. And we're happy that you're joining us here today, and I'm happy now to introduce our guest speaker, coming to us from the Iroquois Trail Council in New York, James DeMarco, also known as Mr. DeMarco. Mr. DeMarco.
Good evening, everybody. This is very much a very, very exciting time for myself. I've been in scouting for over 45 years, and I've done all the stuff that every Scoutmaster that's here have been doing, and that primarily thing has always been the Scout. We all earn badges, we all have Silver Beaver awards, and so on, but in reality, we do it all to take our time to take these young men and turn them into outstanding Scouts. And with that, I would just like to do a little history, because if you two young men, Nathan and Jason, would please stand up. For me to be here is an outstanding privilege, because I basically helped raise Greg's brother and these two guys' uncle to an Eagle Scout. I also was part of Greg's Eagle Scout presentation many, many years ago. So with that in mind, I just want to take and congratulate both of you and thank you for having me. Mom, thanks for having me. Greg, thanks for having me. Thank you very much. Josh, I'm sorry. Well, now they think the end is over because now they're Eagle Scouts. Well, guess what? They're going off to college. I know one is going to West Point. I'm not sure what the future of the brother who feels sometimes that he's underdog, but it really is not. And the thing that's great is while these guys have earned all of these things and they've earned the merit badges, as all of you young men over there feel, oh, I've got to go through the ranks, I've got to be a Star Scout someday, maybe a life, and I have to earn those merit badges. And I'm sure the two of these young men would tell us both, really and truly, camping, rafting, Philmont, maybe even Sea Base, or whatever other than that work was not part of what they expected. But they have done it all. But now they're about to earn and wear the badge of an Eagle Scout, which they already have on their shirts. But really, the two of you, your career in scouting is just beginning. Because, yes, you're going to go to college. In a few years, things will settle down. You'll find a young woman maybe and get married, even have some kids. Maybe you'll never have kids. But we, the old-time scouters, we are going to expect you to fill our spots. We're going to expect you to take all this knowledge of merit badges and leadership and train young scouts and have them someday being up here as a leader. Possibly to take all these merit badges that were a pain, and believe me, I had 38 of them. They were not always fun to earn, but now you're going to teach them. And maybe you'll even fall into an opportunity like your dad when he was in college and be part of our junior leader training course. And by the way, he did a great job, but we wouldn't want to tell him that back then. But as you grow, someday you will be asked to maybe be in a wood badge course, and I hope you do that. And if you're lucky, you'll be in my steps, possibly your father's, and I'm not sure if he's been on a course training, but he'll earn another 2 beads. That'll give you 3 beads. And if you're really lucky, you might be asked to be a scoutmaster of a course. And are there any wood badge scoutmasters here? Would you please stand up? This gentleman is a guy that went through as a 1-beater, a 2-beater, and then a 3-beater, and then he put a team together and spent many, many hours preparing a course, following the outline to train more young scouters the true value of scouting. Thank you very much. And thank you for being a Scoutmaster in Wood Badge. But I probably have talked long enough because these guys are getting anxious, and I know they're already hungry because they've been hungry all day. We went out for supper last night, and I believe Nathan ordered a pizza. I think it was this big around. Did we finish that for lunch today or anything? No? Okay. But anyway, again, I just want to say that I'm planning on hearing from your dad that you guys are out there helping young kids after college and stuff. And again, it was a pleasure to be here and to speak. By the way, afterwards, if anybody wants to know any true facts about Mr. Hooker, I have a lot of young stories of great things he did in scouting, and I know he's helped out and done great things here. And we are real happy to see that he's here in the Detroit area, in Michigan, doing great things in scouting. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jim. It's always a dangerous moment to bring in somebody who knows your father from their youth. When I was younger, my father always told my brothers and I that he had to walk. How far did he have to walk to school? 2 miles. Was it uphill both ways? Yes, it was.
It was always snowing.
Was it always snowing? Yes, it was. And he said, and they didn't have any shoes to wear. And so, some years after he passed, I happened to meet a guy that he grew up with, and I didn't know. I didn't know him before him. And I said, "You grew up with my dad?" Yes, he said. They lived in Highland Park, this enclave in the middle of Detroit. And I said, "I got a question to ask you." And I told him how my father said he always had to walk how many miles?
2.
Uphill?
Both ways.
Through the snow?
Always.
Shoes or no? No shoes. And I said, "Is that true?" And he kind of got a dark look on his face for a second, and he said, "Well, we grew up during the Depression, and some people didn't have much in the way of shoes. But aside from that," he would come out his back door, hop the fence, and he'd be in the schoolyard. So let me just point out the opportunity that you two gentlemen have to discover things about your father that perhaps you didn't know, and better still, you can use as negotiating tools. Next, it's my honor to present Assistant Scoutmaster and Eagle Scout Michael Schultz for the presentation of the Troop 179 Eagle Scout belt buckle. Mr. Schultz.
Hi, like Jason said, my name is Michael Schultz. I'm actually an associate advisor with the venturing crew. That's why I wear the green shirt, but close enough. I don't mind. Used to be an assistant scoutmaster with the troop. Anyway, today I'm honored to present an item of recognition that's unique to the Eagle Scouts from Troop 179, and no other troops have an award like this. It's a little bit of background. For those scouts and adults that complete a high adventure backpacking trek at Philmont, which both of these boys and their dad did 2 years ago, the common thing is to buy is a brass belt buckle at the end of the trip. It's kind of a commemorative thing that shows people afterward that you've been there and it's your keepsake. Well, excuse me, in 2016 for the troop's 50th anniversary, we came up with the idea of making a troop belt buckle in the same fashion, a bronze belt buckle with the Troop 179 Babe the Blue Ox. Well, it's not blue on the buckle. But it was the troop's 50th anniversary, and I contacted the man who makes the belt buckles for Philmont, and so these are struck by the same foundry that he makes them in New Mexico. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute if you're interested when we have these bronze ones for sale. But like the Olympic Games, there's a hierarchy of medals in order of honor in the Boy Scouts, but unlike the Olympics where the gold medal, or gold is the highest, silver in the Boy Scouts is the highest, and that's why the Eagle Medallion is a silver medallion. And so in this tradition, we made a special run of these belt buckles for the troop that are forged in a pewter silver finish that's exclusively for the Eagle Scouts for their award on this day. And so this whole program was envisioned to be self-funded, where the sale of the bronze buckles would go to offset the cost of the silver ones for the Scouts, and that's why we offer them for sale. But they're not exclusively a uniform item. You can wear them with any of your clothing. It's a fashionable item I wear all the time. But lately, the man who makes the buckles even appreciated our program so much, he's been donating some of the buckles to us for the Eagle Scouts, so that's very nice. His name's Norman Cutliff. But today I present a silver buckle to each new Eagle Scout with the intent that they wear it proudly with their uniform or without for the rest of their life, and know that the silver buckle is only for Eagles of this troop. So on the backside, they're serial numbered with their sequential number that they earned in the troop, and Nate's number 247, Eagle Scout in this troop, and Josh is number 252.
Thank you, Mike, and I apologize for getting your position wrong. I'll try to do better in the future, but in my defense, it does say that in the program. Next, to deliver our charge to the Eagles, I'd like to once again call on Assistant Scoutmaster, Eagle Scout, and father of these Eagle Scouts, Greg Hooker.
All right. So to give the charge to the Eagle, the rule is that you have to be an Eagle Scout, because it's tough to understand, as Mr. Medarko was explaining earlier, it's tough to understand what responsibilities being an Eagle Scout has and the Boy Scouts feel that the charge of the Eagle should be given to you by somebody that bears that responsibility now. A tradition in our troop is that once you become an Eagle Scout, you represent all Eagle Scouts. And so the tradition in our troop is to have all the Eagle Scouts stand up and come forward so that Nathan and Josh see who they now represent and who they're from. So if I could get all the Eagle Scouts to come forward. Todd, even though you're not in uniform. Let's go. Not in uniform. I'm quickly looking for my speech. There it is. I do this for every Eagle ceremony, so I don't do it just for my two boys. And regardless of what stories Mr. DeMarco tells you, it's not true. I was truly an angel when I grew up. You know, from the ages of 12 to 18, I could do no wrong. Whatever he says, not true. I was an adult. Boys, if you'd stand up in front. I have the honor of giving you the charge to the Eagle Scout on the occasion of your elevation to the highest award in scouting. All scouts the Scouts of all nations constitute one of the most wholesome and significant movements in this world's history. You have been judged by the Boy Scouts of America as being worthy of this honor. All who know you will rejoice in your achievement. Your position, as you know, is one of honor and responsibility. You are now marked men. As an Eagle Scout, you have a solemn obligation to do your duty to God, to country, to your fellow Scouts, and to mankind in general. This is no small undertaking. As you live up to your obligations, you bring honor to yourself and to all your brother Scouts. America has many great things to give you, and your children after you, but these things depend for the most part on the quality of the citizens. Our country has had a great past, and you can even help make that future even greater. I charge you to uptake your citizenship with a solemn dedication. Be a leader, but lead only toward the best. Lift up every task you do and every office you hold to the highest level of service to God and to your fellow man. So live and serve that those who know you are inspired to finer living. We have too many that use their strengths and their brains to exploit others, to gain selfish ends. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their skills and abilities to the common good. Build America on a solid foundation of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence to God. And whatever others may do, leave behind you a record which every Scout will be justly proud. Eagle Scouts Nathan Hooker and Joshua Hooker, you will now rededicate yourselves by repeating the Scout Oath. Repeat it slowly as you stand before your fellow Eagle Scouts. Resolve to uphold forever its principles with the same ambition and perseverance that have brought you this far. You're thinking, do I remember the oath? Scout signs. No.
On my honor.
I will do
I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Two. Disappointed, Nathan. Your conduct along this trail has been excellent. You have now rededicated yourself to the principles of scouting. But one more thing is most important for you to remember, and that is your future. As an Eagle Scout, become a guide to other Scouts. You become an example in your community. You remember that your actions are now a little bit more conspicuous, and people will expect more from you. To falter in your responsibility not only reflects upon yourself, but it reflects upon all of Eagle Scouts and all of Scouting. The torch that you carry is not just yours, but it is all of ours. Congratulations.
Thank you, Greg. To give you some idea of the distinguished group that these two gentlemen join, I'd like to read a list of some noteworthy Eagles. And it's a long list, but I'll read just a few of them to kind of give you a flavor of what people, what men and now women can achieve as Eagle Scouts. Here's a few names you might recognize. Neil Armstrong, first man to walk on the moon. And in fact, the entire manned space program is replete with Eagle Scouts, including Roger Chaffee, who was killed in the Apollo 1 fire and native of Grand Rapids, Charlie Duke, who was the 10th man to walk on the moon, Jim Lovell, who was famous from his command of the Apollo 13 mission, famous athletes, Willie Banks, Olympian and world record holder, Bill Bradley, former New York Knicks player, Hall of Famer, and Eagle Scout member class of 1957. People from business, Steven Spielberg, he directs these little movies from time to time, fabulously famous. And the list goes on and on. But to be a success as a man, you don't have to be as famous as Neil Armstrong. You can be an ordinary guy in your community who contributes to the betterment of our country, of our state, of our city. And in my view, there's somebody who is as famous an Eagle Scout as Neil Armstrong is. And if he isn't, he ought to be. He's our Scoutmaster, Mr. Chuck Williams, our Scoutmaster and Eagle Scout. Chuck, will you allow me to read a letter before you or as you're getting ready? I sure will. Okay, thank you. I was asked to read this letter, and it comes to us from Noel Doherty, the principal of Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School. And it goes like this. Dear Nathan and Josh, good afternoon. What an incredible day for both of you as we stop and honor your commitment to scouting. I can't help but think of the two of you at the earlier part of your Boy Scout journey, donning your uniforms, sharing sheepish smiles, madly pursuing badges. I think of you now sitting here as young men, academics, leaders, athletes, Josh as a rising junior and Nathan as a soon-to-be plebe at West Point. Many young men enter Scouts for a myriad of reasons, and only a few fully commit to achieve what you have today, the designation of Eagle Scout. I know the hard work, discipline, and loyalty that goes into this, and I couldn't be prouder of you. I have to share that in preparing to write to you today, I took some time to revisit my Girl Scout promise and law. It brought back so many wonderful memories of my troop meetings, camping trips, and service projects. And of course, the hours and hours spent at hours and hours and miles walked, all in the name of selling Girl Scout cookies. I see those tables outside box stores today, and I can't help but think they have it way too easy. I share all of this with you to acknowledge that you are really part of something meaningful, relevant, and special here. It has helped shape you, and I sincerely hope you will continue the tradition and be connected to scouting your entire lives. This trip down memory lane brought me to read a little bit more about the Boy Scout oath and law, and when thinking of you, I was particularly drawn to the words of the Boy Scout oath: to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Stay connected to the service part of this oath. It connects us to humanity and gives our lives deeper meaning. And help and support, true selfless service is needed everywhere. I also think of both of you with the physical strength reference, but I am most appreciative of the reminder in the oath to be mentally awake and morally straight. This is stated so succinctly and yet covers so much. Use your great brains to be aware of all that is going on around you. Know the many sides and perspectives, and this will enable you to live your lives morally straight. Nathan and Josh, you are powerful, intelligent young men because of the people with whom you've built community, and Boy Scouts is a big part of this. So continue to build community, serve and support. You as our leaders will shape and define so much of our future. Congratulations on earning your Eagle Scout designation. Sending love and support, signed, Noel Doherty. Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Thank you.
Presenting the things that you need to do. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Many of you came a long ways to come see this, and that just shows you how much these two guys are loved by all their family and friends and everything else. It's a day that I've been waiting for the last 7 years that you guys have been in the troop, because I had no doubt from the time that both of you walked through the doors or walked across that bridge at your pack to join us that you would be here someday. I think that of all the people in our troop that have done things and stuff like that, the Hooker family is one of the most key people that are part of 179. And, you know, we would not exist and be where we're at without the help of Greg Hooker, who's my #1 assistant, making sure that I don't mess things up. And it's getting harder and harder the older I get. But anyways, I'm going to ask Brian Ulmer, Eagle Scout, to come forward and help me with this. Guys, one of the interesting things about becoming an Eagle Scout, I mean, you've grown up, you're a graduate this June or May, and you're going off to West Point. How exciting, how exciting. There was another Eagle Scout by the name of Robert Gates. Robert Gates did a lot for our country. He was involved with the military, he was a general, he was chief of staff, I believe. He was the Secretary of Defense. Very outstanding guy, but he went to college, and he said he was really no better than anybody else. He didn't do all that great in school, and he didn't really do a lot, you know, of athletes. He wasn't athletic. He didn't have a lot of friends. And when he took off and he graduated college, he went to Washington, D.C. to try and make a difference. And he says that the only thing that he could think of in his mind is he was driving all of his possessions that all fit in his Pinto, and said that the only thing I can think of that sets me apart from all the other people going to do the same thing is that I'm an Eagle Scout, and I'm going to make it happen. And he did. He had quite a career. And you guys need to remember that no matter what, at the end of the day, you're an Eagle Scout. You've done something that when we talk about the number of other guys your age right now, it's not even 1%. It's a minute quantity of people that create that. That's why the award is so revered in the country, in business, in every walk of life in America, because everybody knows. They're not really sure what makes an Eagle Scout, but they know that it takes a lot of work. And it shows a lot of fortitude to be able to get to this point and to finish. So how are we going to do this? We're going to start with Greg and Renee and Nathan by age. Okay. This is one of the things that Greg usually does for me. All right. The Boy Scouts of America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Nathan Joseph Hooker, Troop 179, Farmington Hills, Michigan, in recognition of successful completion of all requirements for scouting's highest rank. The Boy Scouts of America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Joshua Daniel Hooker, Troop 179, Farmington Hills, Michigan, in recognition of successful completion of all requirements for scouting's highest rank. Okay, so Greg and Renee, we would like to present you guys with these pictures of your sons on this, the day of this accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Brian. Gentlemen, congratulations. Before I move on to calling on you for your comments, I'll share another little anecdote kind of thing, and I'll give you a chance to take a deep breath. Chuck mentioned Robert Gates, former Secretary of Defense, former Director of the CIA, former President of the Boy Scouts, and I had the privilege of seeing Secretary Gates present his comments to the 2010 Jamboree, and those are online. The comments were recorded, and they're only about 10 minutes, and they are very inspiring. You can find that online, and there were times in my career that when I was at low points and I needed some inspiration, something to give me some reason to keep doing what I was doing, I'd go back and I would watch Gates' speech to the 2010 Jamboree, and there was never a time that I didn't come away feeling really energized. So whether you're at that kind of low point or not, I encourage you to take 10 minutes and listen to it. Okay. Yes, we did see it together. I won't share any other stories of our exploits at the 2010 Jamboree, but I'll be right behind Jim DeMarco. So if you'd like to hear them, we'll be there. You ready, Nathan? At this time, it gives me great... Well, age before beauty, as they say. That was supposed to be kind of a compliment, but I guess it lost on you, Josh. All right. So it is my pleasure to present at this time Eagle Scout Nathan Hooker.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone who's helped me on my journey to Eagle Scout, beginning with Mr. Eversey and Mr. Wilburn. Thank you for keeping me in line and on task while participating in, teaching, and leading patrols. Mr. Pernick, Thank you for making my head spin circles during 2 of my quarter honors. Uncle Tom, thank you for teaching me basic Scout skills such as knot tying, counseling merit badges like golf, kayaking, and personal management, and providing support through my Eagle Scout project. Dawn, who's not here today? No? Okay. Thank you for taking care of my advancement and ensuring Josh gets what he deserves sometimes. Uncle Todd, thank you for showing me the fun side of scouting. Chuck, thank you for giving me all the chances in the world by putting me in leadership roles that were sometimes undeserved. Mom, thank you for being the relentless support from home, from driving all the way down to West Virginia with 2 teenage boys, which looking back on I'm sure was nothing but pure bliss, to ensuring I have prereqs done for merit badge even though I gave a huge pushback. I cannot show enough gratitude. Dad, no matter how disappointed you were when you caught your son playing with hand sanitizer and a lighter at 1 a.m., or how proud you became when I started consistently outshooting you in trap, thank you for never letting me quit. No matter how much pushback I gave, thank you for always yelling back louder. Thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow and to making sure where I am today.
Thank you, Nathan. Excellent. Next, I'd like to call on Joshua Hooker. Josh, my friend. Nate is too. Nathan is too. But I had the pleasure of sitting in on a number of Eagle. I wasn't on your Eagle board, but a number of. Thank you very much. Border review, the Life Border Review, and it was fair to say that I had some difficult questions for Josh on purpose because I know that when challenged, when called on, he can really throw it down. So Josh, I'd like you to come up here and throw it down for us. Our newest Eagle Scout, Mr. Joshua Hooker.
All right, so when my mom found out I had to give a speech today, she of course was all over it. Right, Ma? I said I'd handle it, but I said I'd do one thing. I'd make sure I'd thank my parents, which played a huge role in my scouting career. So Dad, thank you for keeping me at it, and Mom, thank you for keeping me hostage until I got my Eagle. So other than that, during my Eagle Border Review, I was asked, what is Scouts? Now, I obviously gave the general response answer to that, which is it's a way to learn leadership, it's a way to learn life skills, and it's a way to better yourself. Now, that's from an outside perspective. From an inside perspective, Scout is much more than that. It's a brotherhood. Whether it's from playing euchre with Trevor, my partner, who would either find a way to win a game spectacularly or lose it in a horrible fashion, or whether it was with playing QM baseball with my other QMs when I was supposed to be loading a trailer. Sorry, oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank on that name. Sorry to the leaders that needed to get done for. But looking back on preparing for the speech, it showed me that if you have friends to go through Scouts with, it'll be a great time, and you'll have more than a friendship. It'll be a brotherhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. During my time here at 179, I have from time to time came to the conclusion that some Scouts that I talked to should start saving for law school. And Josh, I say to you, you should start saving for law school. This brings us to the end of our program. And so from all of us, and I'm sure on behalf of the Hooker family, thank you very much for being here today. Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. It's not on, I'm sorry, it's not on the program, but
You can handle it.
my apologies. Please join us all in the hall, and we'll see you in the fall. Thank you.